All right, my name's Adam Vink, and I want to talk to you about my father. Uh, right now, it's the eve of his what would be his 65th birthday. He died when he was 48, February of 1998, and but I think it's a fitting tribute that he would be retiring right now, and his work goes on, and I think that's the idea. I'm trying to carry on his project. And I think that's the reason why I'm doing the things that I'm doing with my life, which, I'm going back to college. I'm getting my degrees. I'm trying to be a better person, and it's because I have to try to live up to this man's legacy. And yeah, I'm the only person who, I mean, there maybe even people who see this video will know my father or have known my father and will understand that. Or maybe you might even see this video and be like, well, that's not the Terry that I knew. Well, you know what? It's been 16 years. Maybe I'm making up a little of this in my mind, but there are certain values and certain uh, I am the way that I am because I am my father's child, and I want to give him a tribute on his 65th birthday. I've made a few other political videos. I did some around the election, one right after the election, where I showed my liberal stripes and I did all of that stuff. I do want to point out that in each one of them, there has been a candle behind me, and there is one tonight as well. And I burned that candle in his memory because his light shines on, and I am a believer in his light, his work, and you know, I kind of feel like maybe I'm giving him too much credit, but it's hard to see where how I'm the man that I am without him. So let me just go ahead and give you some background. He was raised by his grandparents. This stems from the fact that he was born in 1949 to a woman who was 18 years old and was unmarried and in Pell, Iowa. That would not fly. So her parents, my grandmother, who I refer to as my aunt, is gave him to her parents, and so he lived with that burden his entire life. Well, he found out when he was 7 he was adopted, and but it can't help. But he grew up in the 1960s, which you're like, oh yeah, 1960s is a very political time. Well, let me tell you, before 1968 or 1967, I don't know when you want to put it onto it, America was a very apathetic state politically. Like, we pretty much did what we were told. It was a land of conformity. And I mean, there were always elements that were anti-conformist, like want to say the beatniks. You got your poets, you've got your artists, jazz musicians. There's always been there was a free speech movement long before the 1960s, but it really, really took off in the late 1960s. So he was a person of that generation. So up until his graduation from high school in 1968, he was probably just as apathetic as the rest of us. But several events took place that radicalized him. One is graduating high school in 1968, which means that you're either going to get drafted after high school, or you can go to college and get a deferment, or and then get drafted, or you can join. My father chose to join the army. He did it. It was a pragmatic choice. Um, he never regretted it, and he fulfilled his requirements and reenlisted and received an honorable discharge before it was all said and done. But he went to Vietnam in February of 1969 and returned from Vietnam in February of 1970. He got to see the tail end of one Tet offensive and the beginning of another. Tet. That's for all you people out there who are old and remember such things. But anyway, so he was sent to Vietnam. Upon returning, uh, he was still in the army, regular army, and he still had commitments left to the regular army. But that didn't change he, in a war and being the mind that he was, understood what it meant. And he went back to the United States and joined Vietnam Vets Against the War and became a anti-war protester and a hippie. Lived the lifestyle, was all about free speech, all about civil rights. Um, as an example, with his civil rights, he had a permit to parade at the Capitol Dome in Columbia, South Carolina. And this would have been like 71, 72, I'm guessing. But during his anti-war protest that he put together, a civil rights protest broke out, which it was 1960s, so it happened. So Coretta Scott King was there in Columbia that day and asked him if she could address his rally. And of course, my father, understanding exactly who she was and the moment that it was, and not seeing a divorce between uh, the civil rights movement and the anti-war movement, of course, let her speak. And so I was raised by that guy, and I was raised by that guy himself. My mom, never really that political of a being. No offense, mom, you haven't been. Although she's plenty political now. But I mean, she was a hippie for different reasons. Because it was the lifestyle. God, I don't mean any offense, mom. I really don't, because you're gonna watch this and you're a freedom fighter too, no doubt about it. But they divorced when I was very young, and he raised me. He said, "I'll do it," and so he raised me by himself. His only child. So again, with the legacy stuff. So anyway, he instilled a morality inside of me, and it's strange because it's not a Christian morality, and it's not a defined morality. It's a morality that is just based on collecting all the facts, understanding people, and knowing the difference between right and wrong. Uh, if you do the research and you ask the right questions and you talk to the right people, you can go to bed at night and feel really good about yourself. And you can sleep well because you know. You know you're right. And I don't believe in a world of absolutes at all. I think absolutes, the only absolute is there is no absolute, which means this is an absolute, which is kind of contradictory. Anyway, regardless, um, he instilled this morality, and it's kind of an obvious thing, but it's something that we choose to ignore as a people. Now we're turning a corner here. This is we're in 2014. It's about to be 2015. We're here. We are in America. Our economy is going to boom in the next year. Uh, our wars are going to end. It depends on ISIS and how we handle it, but supposedly our wars are coming to an end finally. After 13 years of continuous warfare will be done. Um, I just see this man's vision coming to pass every day. Um, the difference between right and wrong. Uh, I think that he would have been slow on gay marriage. I was slow on gay marriage. Um, when you come from a small town or whatever, it's hard to wrap your head around it. And if you're not gay yourself or whatever. But he would have done it. He would have come to that because he's a civil rights advocate. I was always told that there's no difference between white, black, Hispanic, Asian, unless you make a difference. We're all human, and hopefully, if you live your life saying, "Oh, there's no difference," then everybody else will say there's no difference. I mean, I ran into racism the first time in my life when a black kid called me a honky. Like that was the first time I encountered racism. Was a black kid being racist against me, and I called him ignorant. I got in a fight. But I did that because I was raised by a person who could tell me, you could give me a moral code. I'm anti-Christian, by the way, and I'm anti-religion. But I have a strict morality about myself. You know, more of his vision. The man was an advocate for the legalization of marijuana for a long time, and I just saw Dr. Sanjay Gupta's uh, series on medical marijuana, and I mean, Dad was right. The federal government's wrong on this one, and they've been wrong all along. And it was a racist law in the 30s, and it became advantageous to hold down certain social economic groups via drug laws. I blame Nixon for that, but here we are. We're on the verge of a great liberalization on drug laws in general. The justice system is going to probably have to be reformed here real soon. A lot of that will be the release of nonviolent drug offenders. Um, yeah, again with civil rights, this Ferguson business that's been going on is this is the last gasp of racism in our country. Um, the racists know that they're fighting their last battles. They're holding on to their ignorance, and I love seeing that happen every day. I also love the fact that free speech is a lot freer today than it was in my father's era. Um, my dad, um, my dad got recorded making speeches in front of anti-war protesters, and when he went to get a top secret security clearance to the army when he reenlisted in the middle 1970s, the FBI actually had a meeting with him and showed him videos of him leading anti-war protests, and they were like, "What do you have to say about that, sir?" And he was like, "Yeah, I did that. I'm proud of it, and put my name right on it. I was an organizer. I didn't break any laws, and I was exercising my freedom of speech." Um, Today, I get to make web videos, and I get to project all of this out there. I mean, do I put myself at a certain amount of perils? No, actually, no, I don't, because I don't have a message that's dangerous in any way. But at the same time, I'm allowed to put it out there. I believe that if I would have been less apathetic at the time, I would have been an ardent anti-war protester during the Iraq War, a war that was unjust in every way. But I was too high on drugs to fight it. Um, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that here we are on the eve of his 65th birthday, and I finally see his vision coming to pass. I finally see a general, and I'll call it a liberalization because it is a liberalization of law, but it is this idea of right and wrong, this idea of asking the questions and coming up with, it seems obvious. The issues of our day seem obvious. They seem black and white. And it's funny, you ask a Democrat, you ask a Republican, a Libertarian, anybody, you ask a socialist, a communist, what do we want? What do we want as a society? And you know what we want as a society? We want a fair shake for everybody. We want a person who is born in the lowest of the low to have the same opportunities as somebody, not the exact same, but a bridge as somebody who grows up in like the best neighborhood and goes to the best private schools, and you're like, I'm a living embodiment of that. I grew up extremely poor. We were in poverty my entire life. Yet I was able to go to school every day. I was able to do something for myself. I never gave up on the dream. And that is what it is. That is what we all strive for. We want to be able to be afforded the same opportunities as anybody else. And it needs to be universal. Color of your skin shouldn't matter. The amount of money in your bank account should not matter. Your gender absolutely should not matter. It is about right and wrong. It's about a morality. It's about humanity. And I hate calling it morality, but I don't have another word for it. It is. It's not black and white, but it's real. It is something. It's tangible. So, did any of this make sense? I don't know. I'll look back on it eventually. But I wanted to give a shout out to this man right here, my father, person I love dearly, and the reason why I am who I am. And happy retirement, Dad. I'll continue your work, and I encourage all of you out there to do the same.